All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be getting into the Week 18 lineup builder, showing you guys my process for the week, touching on the fades, stacks, some core plays, how I'm going to implement those players, and then showing you guys how to implement that into the lineup builder. Let's go ahead and get into it. So first, just looking at the stacking report, it is drawing in that we should be on Philly a little bit more. And most likely they're going to be going against the Giants backups. So Philly's obviously playing for some playoff seeding and whatnot. So their starters might play. Jalen Hurts is going to be active, so that should help out Goddard, Brown, and Smith. And that's really the biggest takeaway from the stacking report this week. Looking at ownership as well, I don't know if we need to be, that high owned on Tyler Algier. That does worry me. That's an ownership that worries me. And same thing with CMC. I worry about CMC's ownership being a little bit too high. Those are two players that when we go into the lineup builder, we can, maybe be underweight on them. CMC, he might not play a full allotment of snaps. That's my biggest worry with him. And then from there, it's pretty good. Like, I'm okay with all that. So I do want to look at under-owned real quick, and then we'll be getting into the actual lineup builder here for you guys. So yeah, Tyler Higbee, very low owned. And if he's going to be this low owned come lineup block or right before lineup block, yeah, we should hammer that home. He gets the best matchup on the slate. Going to be playing about 90% of the snaps. We just saw him break a slate 2 slates ago, so that's interesting to me. Sam Darnold as well, very low ownership for a guy that kind of is the third best QB play because we really don't have any great ones. Like literally either every quarterback is too priced up in a tough matchup, or the good quarterback plays that we would have don't have anything to play for really. And we don't know how much they're going to play. And really it's just Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow. And then Sam Darnold's like the next best, which isn't great, but at the same time, 2% ownership is pretty low. Looking at the tight ends, they're always pretty low. And then I would say like Eckler, Godwin, Brady, don't play them. We don't know how much they're going to play. So let's go ahead and get into the lineup builder. So looking at it, I always like to start off with doing 2 data points for the lineup builder to filter off of. Okay, so 2 players that I really like a lot this week, and 1 player that I need to bump up actually now, given some news, is Jonathan Williams. So let's go ahead and bump this up to like 15. I want him in a lot of builds. He's in a very cheap price tag, most likely going to be the RB1 for the Washington Commanders. Okay, they really don't have anyone. That news broke after my cash plays video came out, or I just didn't see it before it came out. So he's one player that I want to be on more. And then let's just pump up Zach Moss's projections a little bit more. And the reason I'm bumping him up is to literally just tell the optimizer, hey, I like these players. Okay, the optimizer is going to work off of the data that it has. The way that you tell it which players you want to be on is just bump up the projections of a player. So I'm going to go ahead and run this just to see if it's pulling in a lot of any players that I do not want that much of. Okay, and so we can just click on the players tab. So it's pulling in a lot of Jonathan Williams. I'm fine with that. It is pulling in Dallas Goedert, Tyler Higbee. Okay, so 100% Goddard and Higbee. What do we have to do, guys? We have to go into settings because I don't like having 2 tight ends. I'm going to go flex and eligible tight end. That's always the second step as well. So I got to remember that. From there, Garrett Wilson, I'm fine with. CMC, I feel like we should be underweight on him. Drake London, that's actually pretty interesting to me. I didn't see him as a player to be on this week, but at the same time, I kind of get the logic behind it. So maybe we'll be on him. And then we're seeing some value there. Shaheed, Jamar Chase, I'm fine with. Kenneth Walker, I'm fine with. Okay, so we kind of just get a good sense of what the lineup optimizer is kind of telling us to do. So let's go ahead and make some adjustments to that. So like I said, the 2 players I don't really want to be on too much or overweight on is going to be Christian McCaffrey. I do worry about him. He could be someone that we potentially fade, and I don't feel good about it because I do feel like he's going to be a good play, but let's only put him at like 10%. So we're not completely fading, but we're going to be underweight on him. And then same thing with Tyler Algier here, maybe only like 10% for him. Yes, he's only 13% on, so let's go half of that, like 6% on. Like sure, we can still be on him, especially in 150 entries, but definitely want to be underweight on him. I think if he's going to be looking like he's chalk. So now from there, I'm going to bump up the projections of some of the players that I want to be on. So one of them, we'll start with the quarterbacks, is going to be Jalen Hurts. Let's just bump up his projection a little bit more. We don't need to do it too much, but just to tell the optimizer that I want to be on. Joe Burrow as well. I don't mind him as a play. I am recording this before the finish of the Kansas City game. I haven't looked into if that changes anything. I should. Let me just look that up real quick. I believe, and I'm pretty sure that it's the Bills and Bengals are still playing for the number 2 spot. I'm pretty sure that's right. I think they're pretty much locked into 2 and 3 though, assuming the Chiefs win because they're up. So maybe that's less of an incentive for them to play all their starters a long time. We'll see that. And that's honestly the most difficult part about week 18. It's about the teams that don't have anything to play for playoffs wise, because we can predict players that miss the playoffs. They're going to play their guys. Okay. Coaches want to win game, and the teams that have stuff to play towards for the playoffs, the Lions, the Packers, I guess so there's Sunday night game now, but those would be the teams we want to target, because we know what we're going to get out of them. It's these teams that are like not really playing for anything. That's my biggest worry. Okay, so running back wise, I do like Harris as well, Najee Harris. Let's bump up his projection a little bit just to ensure that we're going to get him into a lot of our builds. And then let me just go down that running back list just to make sure that I'm getting proper ownership to the running backs that I want to be on. So yeah, Austin Eckler, I don't know. I worry about his playing time as well. 5% for him. Saquon, probably just don't want to be on him as well. Let's just click off of him. Dalvin Cook, I worry about his playing time as well. Joe Mixon, I just don't like. 15. Pollard, I worry about his playing time. And you can already see we're kind of forced into a little bit of Stevenson, probably forced into a little bit of Kamara. Kenneth Walker III, I actually don't mind. Let's go with 35% on him. He's kind of the next best. Like Cam Akers is the running back that I do want to be going out of my way to play. If we're not playing Tony Pollard, then we're not playing Zeke. It's a weird thing, guys. It just is. Week 18, the last few years, Week 18 have been pretty straightforward with the values and studs that you want to be on because there's enough teams playing for enough studs playing for playoff spots. And then you knew which values to go ahead and target because of preseason DFS. This week definitely aligned differently than I was hoping for, which makes it more difficult, obviously. Miles Sanders is always someone that pops up a lot. I don't really know why. I think it's his upside, so I'm just going to cap his exposure to 8. If I'm doing 150 lineups, I don't want to completely fade him, but at the same time, I don't want it to be going out of its way to target him. Oh, yeah, and then Corey Clement as well is an interesting one. As it sits right now, based off of the information that we have, he is going to be the RB1 in that offense. So let's go ahead and bump up his projection as well. He should get some work in the passing game. Now, receiver-wise, I'm going to just bump up the projections of the players that I want there. And so DK was one of those. We don't have to bump him up too much. It was already in DK. Chris Olave, I don't mind, but, maybe limit him to bump up his projection, but limit it to about 30%. He could be a good play. We are going to run a setting in there where I want to stack the quarterback with receiver this week. Last week, we didn't have to do that. Okay. This week, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to be chasing that upside. Debo, I don't want to play. I worry about his playing time. Garrett Wilson was someone that's popping up. Marquise Brown, let's bump up Marquise Brown. He should be a nice, safe play. He's probably going to be chalky, but at the same time, it should be good chalk. That should be chalk that you're trying to eat. Greg Dortch, I'm definitely bumping this up as well. Played a ton of snaps and got 10 targets, okay? This is still a cheap price day for Greg Dortch. We need to just be trying to play him in a lot of our builds. Corey Davis is an okay play. Played a decent amount of snaps. Dante... All right, so the Bears, it is so interesting. And full disclosure, I'm going to be on Nate Peterman a little bit, guys. It's ugly, but think about it. The Bears pass catchers actually should see their floors rise up with Nathan Peterman at quarterback. A little bit more valuable targets coming their way, which is weird. Obviously, Justin Fields, a run-first quarterback, kind of struggled in the passing game. They're probably just going to try to run the football a ton, and maybe we just load up on David Montgomery because of that. Not a terrible matchup against Minnesota. I actually don't mind the idea. My point was that someone like Byron Pringle or Pettis, one of those guys is going to have a good game, most likely, unless they keep the offense the same. And Nate Pete's just scrambling for 100 yards rushing. I doubt that. But that's my long way of saying I like Byron Pringle. The Patriots have shown that they like Tyquan Thornton as well. I don't mind him. Tutu Atwell, we could bump up. There are some pretty solid value price point plays on this slate. It's kind of crazy. I didn't really see that coming completely. All right. And then real quick, tight end wise, I just want to bump up the projections of really just one player, and that's going to be Cody Parkinson. I'm going to bump this up to 9. I want to be on him a decent amount. Given his price tag and given the fact that he played more snaps than Noah Fant last week, and given the fact that he saw 4 targets, that is a player that I want to be targeting as well. Maybe not too crazy. Maybe at 40% is a lot. Maybe 35. No, 40. Let's go with it. I like that. I'm actually going to just take off a lot of the top end defenses. I don't want it putting them in there. Every single week, guys, it's don't pay up at defense. And finally, last week, I paid up for defense. I forget who it was now, but they were chalky. And I was disappointed because they scored 2 points and the minimum price defense scored 1. It's just no, we learned our lesson. Let's just not pay up for defenses. And so that's why I'm leaving it. I am going to leave the Eagles in there. Okay. The Eagles defense with something to play for, trying to clinch that number 1 seed. They're going to play their starters, and the Giants are solidified with their spot. Okay. So they're not going to play for anything. They're expected to sit their starters. So let's go ahead and just add a setting in here. Okay. What am I going to do? I'm going to do position stacks. So I want to stack a quarterback with a receiver and on the same team. And we could really target which teams we want to do that for. Okay. So what teams do we want to be targeting? Well, I could see doing Buffalo going against New England. I could see Cincy. So let's just do some of those. I don't love Cincy. I don't love Buffalo. Philly, I do like, as you guys know. Chicago going against Minnesota. I just want a piece of that, guys. Okay. And also just fair warning, like Nate Pete has been like a preseason stud. I'm a little bit biased in that. If you guys haven't followed me for preseason NFL DFS, you are missing out. It's pretty good stuff. But he has won a ton of money in free DFS. So I'm a little bit biased towards him. Gotta play a little bit of him, lose the money back that he's won me in that. So let's see here. Maybe Arizona, no. Seahawks, no. And this is what I mean. Like, we just don't have that many like stacks that make sense. It's tough. I mean, do you want to go with Lord Flacco at the quarterback with the Jets? Maybe. I don't know. We'll run this with 20. See what it spits out. I'm going to restrict the DST versus quarterbacks and running backs as well. I'm fine with receivers. That works. And we're just going to run this once. Going to go with max exposure of 40% as well, just to see. Let's generate that. Oh, baby. So as this is loading, I was checking up my prize picks. If you guys haven't checked it out, the NBA content is flying right now. Kevon Looney, who is my lock today, just hit his over, which is awesome. But yeah, looking at this. Okay, so this is spitting out probably the players that we want. Maybe a little bit too much Corey Davis. Probably don't need that. And I might set a rule where I might just cap AJ Brown's exposure so that I can get more Devonta Smith in there. Okay, that might be something I do. Jonathan Williams, I'm fine with. So for the most part, like this will work. Probably way too much Latavius Murray. Don't want any of that. Like Chase Edmonds, what is he at? I would rather be on Chase Edmonds. Yeah, so I just don't want to be on Latavius Murray. Like, I don't know. I feel like that move is played out. Chase Edmonds played enough snaps. I'm just going to go with him. Maybe let's just do cap hits. Okay, and so I'm actually going to cap the exposures to the players I don't want to be on too much, because if the data is saying that we should be on these players, like, sure, I don't want to just say, oh, F the data, because that's always been like my biggest mistake in DFS, and probably your biggest mistake in DFS is like when something like this is saying, hey, play this player, and you're like, no, I'm going to play the players I want. Normally that's like the biggest regret. So obviously Corey Davis was popping up there because we told the optimizer we wanted to be on, but I don't want to be on that much. Like 15% is fine. I'm fine with Dallas Goedert and Tyler Higbee at that percent ownerships, but I also want to sum of Cody Parkinson. So let's just go ahead and do 30% for these guys, and maybe only 20% for Dallas Goedert and 35% for Tyler Higbee. Actually, I'm fine with 40% for Tyler Higbee. This should pull in more of Cody Parkinson. Zonovan Knight, I don't want any of. And just as an FYI, there was some news that James Robinson is going to get a lot of work. Who knows if that's true? It's something to monitor, something I thought was noteworthy for you guys. Weird stuff could happen. That's the worry. And maybe a little bit too much Josh Allen exposure. Let's do 15% Josh Allen. That way we're probably going to get 15% Diggs, and I'm fine with that. Shaheed, 15%, that's fine. Like I said, I don't really want much of Zonovan Knight if we are going to get kind of a three-headed monster. If James Robinson's active, if he's going to be active, and I might just click off of Zonovan Knight. I think that is just like a waste of a eight lineups or 15 lineups there. I guess it'd be more if we're doing 150. Hey guys, if Nelson Aguilar sits, who are we targeting? Sorry, I just butchered that. If Jacoby Myers sits, we're targeting Nelson Aguilar. We've seen that already a few times this season. And like what I meant by like Sam Darnold being kind of the next best is that like we got Deshaun Watson, and like it is what it is. So I'm going to bump up Sam Darnold to 21 to ensure that he gets pulled into some. I wish it's annoying, like Sam Ehlinger going against Houston, who has actually been the best pass defense for opposing quarterbacks in terms of fantasy scoring. Like, I wanted to play him. I want to play Sam Howell. Like, I wanted to play these cheap quarterbacks. I was hoping we'd get a cheap quarterback in a good spot. And really the only two that we were getting is freaking Joe Flacco, and the data hates him as a play, which I don't blame it. I'm going to do a max of 5% for him. I don't want that much of him. And Peterman probably going against the Minnesota's backups, who are probably going to be better than their starters. Like, both suck, and it's not fun. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. 10%. Is that too much? Probably. That's probably way too much. He's going to throw like 2 INTs. We know that. That's going to happen, guys. But maybe he can throw for 300 passing yards. Maybe he can do the Jared Stidham, get some rushing. Because he can rush. He's going to throw picks. Like Stidham threw 3 INTs last week and had 300 yards passing and like 2 multiple touchdowns. Like, it can happen for a bad quarterback, okay? But I also do want to bump up David Montgomery. That's right. That reminded me of that. Because David Montgomery could be a good play with Peterman at quarterback. Because honestly, like, Justin Fields has been terrible for someone like David Montgomery fantasy-wise, okay? Not getting as many dump-offs, taking away rushing touchdowns. Like, David Montgomery had a great season, DFS-wise, and fantasy-wise, especially if you add in a couple more touchdowns and a couple more rushing yards. That Justin Fields was taken away. So I do like the idea of playing David Montgomery this week as well. 20% for him. And he might be someone I jump on a little bit more. Although like Jonathan Williams, Zach Moss, Najee Harris, Cam Akers, those are going to be tough plays to pass up on. So I feel like we got this down pretty well. Let's go ahead and generate this again. All right, so this is much better. But guys, the strange thing here, with us pulling in a lot of Marquise Brown and a lot of Greg Dortch, because they're going to have high floors and they're at cheap price tags. Like we're going to get 12 double-digit DK points on them. Do we want to just go with the Arizona stack? Like David Blau threw the ball 40 times, had a touchdown. I mean, he does get a poor matchup, but like I said, the Niners might not play their starters the full allotment of snaps. I just worry about the motivation there. Let's do it. We're running the stack out. All right. I like it. It's whatever. You know, it's the last week. We got to be a little bit dangerous. We got to be Baker Mayfield, but actually like a good version of Baker Mayfield. Boom. And now what we're going to do is we're going to raise up his projections. Let's do 19 for you, buddy. And we're capping you at 10. Nah, be aggressive with it. 20. Yeah, the logic's there. And with that, let's just bump up Trey McBride's projection as well. All right, so once again, just generating 20 real quick. So I realized I caused an error because I didn't redo it. I try to add in Arizona. I have to just redo it. So we're going to redo it with the teams that I want to stack the quarterback. And like even Skylar Thompson, like I kind of would have wanted to stack them too. You know, Tyreek Hill and whatnot, but they get the Jets. That's a tough matchup as well. Okay, so yeah, this is set up much better. We're getting proper exposure to players that we should be getting exposure to. I like this. I like this a lot better. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to set it out for 150 max entries. And the one thing I'm going to adjust slightly is we're going to go with 35 for Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts. Okay, I do want a little, let's even maybe do 30. Okay, we're already stacking them, so if they have a good game, we're going to be pulling in their top pass catchers. Okay, like I'm not worried about that. And the one thing I could do would be like to do a player group, like and I could anchor it, like when a lineup includes, let's say Jonathan Williams is kind of the play that people are going to be ending up on, I think. So you could use him as like an anchor this week. So like when a lineup includes Jonathan Williams, you could be like, I want at least, let's just say 3 of these players. Like Zach Moss is a player that obviously I like. Metcalf, Parkinson, Higbee as well. Let's see here. Akers, Harris, and I'm kind of talking myself into David Montgomery a little bit. And maybe we bump this up a little bit more for Marquise Brown, and then like also Greg Dortch. Okay, so we're kind of telling this like, hey, we're using Jonathan Williams as an anchor here. And we could go ahead and do this with like whoever else I thought was like a really good play, like Cam Akers. We could go ahead and do this process for as well, just to ensure that, hey, we want it to be a scaled effect. Like I want these players in all the builds and I want them to be packaged together. You know, making one-off differences here. Like these are the players I'm targeting. Like this is the way to go about doing that. So I'm going to include that here as well. And how about it, guys? The Jacksonville Jaguars, man, Christian Kirk. So I thought Christian Kirk would have a better bounce back game, and he is now. That's awesome to see. And I just realized, I didn't tell you guys, like I split this video into 2 separate ones. I recorded the first section and then I'm doing the second section now because I remember saying we were sweating the Chiefs game earlier. Chiefs won, by the way, if you didn't know that. All right, and here we go. Probably too much of Jets D. Like I don't want to be too chalky on a defense. I just don't. So I'd probably change this. Probably go down from Tyler Higbee a little bit and Jamar Chase, like maybe 30% for all of those. Jets D probably 20. Texans D probably 20, but for the most part, like this is looking very solid. Would want to bump up Jonathan Williams' projection maybe a little bit so that I just ensure that I'm getting him as much as I would like. But like we're getting proper exposures here to the players that I would want to get exposures to. Yeah, it's looking pretty good there. Okay, so I'm happy with that for now. Obviously, come Sunday morning, I'll probably come in here and just hit this rebuild button, which would then rebuild it based off of the updated data that comes out, you know, during the morning. That is all I have for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. Give a like and subscribe. That helps me be able to continue to put out more content for you guys. Gonna try to put out more content for the NFL season as well, so be on the lookout for that. All right, let's have a good slate. Kind of happy this video is done because, as you guys saw, it took 2 takes, two separate takes. Week 18, man. It's a doozy. Best of luck to you. All right, I'm out.